Good evening. It is August 10th. Welcome in everybody to the stream. My name is Nick. This is Main Event Fantasy. We are going to be drafting some best ball teams like we do every night around this time between 10 p.m. and midnight. It is in the midst of fantasy football drafting season. If you're in your redraft leagues, you're just kind of warming up, trying to get ready for them. Some of you are drafting, some of you are wait until the end. We're doing best ball drafts. I've already drafted almost 500 teams, and we'll continue to keep drafting all through the season. And we're able to do that because we are drafting right here on Underdog Fantasy, where we do best ball drafts, which means there's no time commitment during the season because you draft your team and the best players play automatically. The lineups are set for you. No trades, no waiver wires. It's the best way to play. If you love drafting fantasy football teams, you want to have a chance to enter some tournaments, win some money, and prepare for your regular redraft leagues, this is the best way to do it. And the best place to do it is right here on Underdog Fantasy. Here is a quick screenshot of the eligibility map. If you are living in any of these awesome yellow states, you are eligible to play on Underdog Fantasy as long as you are 18 or 21, depending on the state you live in. So definitely recommend it. If you jump into my description below, you'll see a promo code, Perfect216. You go into Underdog Fantasy, make you an account, and your first deposit up to $1,000 will have a 50% deposit bonus. So happy to be here tonight, and we're going to dive right in to some drafts. So with this one, we're going to get a Best Ball Mania draft. This is the flagship contest. This is the largest fantasy football tournament on the planet. 672,000 entrants will be in. Maximum amount of drafts you can do or teams is 150. $25 entry. It is $2 million to first place, $1 million to second, $500,000 to third, and so on. And we are definitely going to continue to roll with these Best Ball Mania drafts tonight. I have some good news. And if you're in here and you want to draft with us, we've got 3 more people before this thing fills. Let's see here. A couple more left to go. I have some great news for those of you who have been asking about my rankings. So this year, I am not doing anything where you have to pay to see my rankings. I'm also not sending them out. However, I have modified a little bit of my rankings, and I have adjusted them. So you will be able to see my ranks on the screen and next to the ADP. So we're going to filter by ADP, but you'll see how my ranks differ to the left. So when we get down to making a tough decision, we will definitely look to the ranks to be that tiebreaker, and we can challenge why that my ranks are the way they are. So it should be a lot of fun as we dive into fantasy football drafts tonight. So we got to pick 9. Love the back half of the draft. Love the back half of the boards. So this is going to be a good time. We're going to try and win $2 million tonight, and I feel like tonight could be our night to do it. If you're just joining and you're just stopping by, and this is the first time checking us out on this channel, I would appreciate just throw a like up there. If you like it, great. If you learning something, even better. If you're just using this for entertainment, fantastic. If you hate what I'm doing and hate what I'm saying, have no clue what I'm talking about, press the like button anyway. Support somebody. Why not? Show a little love today in this beautiful Sunday evening. It does go a long way, so it will be much appreciated. When we get pick 9, we really like of what the options are going to be coming back to us here. And the back half of the draft kind of gets creative because the first 6 picks are pretty normal typically, but you can get some good ADP values in the back half of the draft, and we're able to really take advantage of fallers and things of that nature. So let's see what Ghost AF does here. I would love it if he would let Saquon fall to 9. That would be disgusting, and it would be a $2 million kind of start, but I don't think it's going to happen. And it didn't. Would have been a dream. All right, y'all know that I'm not a Nico guy. You can see that by my rankings here. We're going to pass on him in favor of Puka Nacua here at the 1-9. I kind of want to see what my man does with Saquon Barkley at the 8. That's a pretty lucky pull, all things considered. But that's a good sign for this draft room because that means we could get real weird real fast, and I'm all about it. We'll queue up some guys. Achane is the next ranked guy on my list. And he goes at the 112. So I am going to prioritize ADP over my rankings because you get values there that create your team to be unique. And when you're going against 672,000 other teams, you need some uniqueness to your team, especially in the beginning of drafts. But if we don't get a lot of values coming to us, I will let my rankings dictate the way we go. Derrick Henry goes at 14. Genty at 15. So we're here. ADP and my ranks are pretty much the same here. So we're going to go ahead and take Drake London at pick 16 and pair him up with Puka Nacua. The cool thing about this is with Puka Nacua and Drake London, they do play each other in week 17. Now, I've talked about this before. When you are looking to win, week 17 is the best ball finals. The weeks 1 through 14 is the regular season. If you advance, week 15, is the quarterfinals. Then you get into semifinals in week 16, and then the finals in week 17. So you really want to prioritize the fantasy football playoffs, weeks 15, 16, and 17. And because you've got to compete with 672,000 other teams, you want to have the highest chance of winning and the highest chance of upside, which means one way to do that is if you believe that the Rams and Atlanta could have the highest scoring game of the week in week 17, and that's the week that you are you make it to the finals in your league, you want to have those guys go off. So you like when they play each other. You want to have that week 17 correlation. It just ups the ceiling of the chance of your team winning money. So that's a little bit of a pro tip for you guys. And real quick, I'll just flash it on the screen. Here's a screenshot of what I use when I am drafting teams. I'm looking at the fantasy football playoffs from a schedule like this, looking at weeks 15, 16, and 17, seeing what each team plays. And I'm prioritizing in specific week 17. And you can see there that the Falcons play the Rams week 17. So if we continue to draft a couple more pieces from those teams, we should have some correlation there to our advantage. Let's see if we got some weirdness going on here with this draft. Josh Jacobs goes a little early. I'm not sure. AJ Brown went all the way down to the Bijan Robinson drafter. That's pretty rare. Jonathan Taylor falls to the 3rd round. That's fairly rare. I feel like this is a big miss by Ghost. I think he should have took AJ Brown here and kind of kept the uniqueness going, but he takes Bowers there, and maybe that's the right decision. Maybe it's not. We're not necessarily an expert. We're just someone who's drafted a whole lot of teams over the last few years and really been doing fantasy football for well over a decade in all types of leagues. And so I've got a lot of experience, and I have been fairly profitable and pretty successful when doing it. So, all right. Draft board is coming around to us. And we're in a situation where my ranks are pretty close with theirs in terms of we're going to get either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson here at 33. And that's a little past ADP for both of them, so it feels really good to grab one of them here. So Ghost grabs Allen, so we're going to go ahead and take Lamar Jackson here at 33 as our first quarterback. So we'll start with a Puka, Drake London, and Lamar Jackson start. Feels kind of nice. As my man John Gruden would say, shout out to John, It's feeling nicey. Got me feeling nicey. All right. Breece Hall goes at 35. Breece is a guy in my rankings that you're going to see a big dispute on, just like there's a couple others here. Terry and Rashee Rice. You can see my rank is significantly different than the average draft position with where I have them valued at for various reasons. Worthy goes at 36. McLaurin goes at 37. So we're a couple picks away. So when we're looking at values here, Kyren Williams would be my top preferred player. We don't need the premium quarterbacks here when we have Lamar Jackson, so the elite quarterback is out. And Kyren does fall. ADP of 32, we're going to get him at 40. I have him ranked at 34. This is a fantastic pick here, and it does correlate with our Week 17 stack of the Rams and Atlanta. So ideally, you want to kind of have a plan. We're not going to force it, but if it falls our way, we want to have a plan. So I am going to try and target one of the quarterbacks from this game, either Matthew Stafford or Penix, and I'm going to shoot for Penix. I think he has the higher upside as a player. So love how this draft is starting out for us. We'll see if we can kind of keep this rolling and keep getting some values in this draft. I was looking at, speaking of news, let's just kind of talk about a little bit of news. I know first week of the preseason games have been in effect. A couple of hours ago, it was announced that on the Eagles, the Pro Bowl guard Landon Dickerson was carted off the practice field with some sort of a leg injury. He couldn't put any weight on it. We'll see what that means for the Eagles. That is not a good sign. He's definitely incredible with the run game. However, they do have a great line overall. Maybe he won't be too badly injured. Maybe he'll make it back for the start of the season. Maybe only miss a few games. We don't know yet. I will say this, though. If that affects their run game at all, meaning to say that their blocking is not quite as good in the run game or something of that nature, it kind of goes along with what I thought in this season already, is I do think they're going to pass more this year, the Eagles, and I definitely bet that it's almost impossible to not pass more based on how little they passed last year. I also saw an interview with A.J. Brown where he said that they're focused this year going back to the Super Bowl, and they want to prove that they can do it through the air, not just on the ground. And so to me, that I feel like they're taking it as a challenge. Like they want to dominate through the air this year. So I think the Eagles passing game should be a lot of fun. I definitely see a lot of weird picks already in this draft, which is going to mean that we might have some more values coming our way. So we just need to stay diligent and take advantage of what comes to us. I'm targeting Zay Flowers here. I do have him as my highest ranked wide receiver on the board. I have him ranked as player 43 overall, where they have him as ADP of 56. We should be able to get him here at 57 to pair with Lamar Jackson would be the goal. We'll see if it plays out that way. Ghost takes top of ADP as he's been with Sutton. So we'll get Zay Flowers. Perfect. Pairs him with Lamar Jackson. And this start has been absolutely phenomenal. So we just got to see how it continues to play out. All right, so Kamara goes. I would have considered him here, but now without Kamara, we're more likely to get into some more wide receivers here. But we'll see. We got 3 more picks before we get there. Harvey goes at 61. Nudie Bear here. Nudie Bar. Nice, I get it. Nudie Bar. Just came to me. He had 3 running backs already, so he didn't really need another running back. I think we're going to go ahead and take DeAndre Swift here. He is kind of the top of ADP for me, and top in my rankings. Would have been more ideal to have one of these guys drop from the wide receiver standpoint, but that's okay. So we've started Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift at running back, Puka Nacua, Drake London, and Zay Flowers at wide receiver. I feel good about the start we've done here, and hopefully we can keep it going because it feels like this could be a strong, a really strong team that we're trying to build here. Joe Burrow goes at 66. So you can tell by the veteran drafters usually based on having a badge, a red or a black badge next to their name. When they don't have that, that doesn't mean they're a bad drafter. It just means that on Underdog, at least, they have not drafted a lot of teams or have not won a lot of money in a tournament. So an example of when I see non-badge drafters, I do look at this as sometimes a gift and sometimes a curse because you don't know how they're going to draft. And here's an example. My man takes Joe Burrow here at 66. While it's not a terrible value, he has no Cincinnati Bengals to pair up with. And you really need to increase your ceiling in large field tournaments like this by stacking your quarterback with some pass catchers. So unless he gets some Cincinnati Bengals in a back stack somehow, it's not ideal for him to have taken Joe Burrow here. By the way, speaking of news, did y'all hear about Jaguars kicker Cam Little yesterday? He made a 70-yard field goal at the end of the first half, and the prior record for longest field goal was 66 yards by Justin Tucker. However, this doesn't count because this is a preseason game, which is kind of sad. But if you're getting into your regular redraft leagues and you're looking for a kicker, Cam Little sounds like he's got a leg to absolutely crush it. So I think I might be looking for Cam Little in some redraft leagues as my kicker. Seems like not a no-brainer, but it seems like a good idea. All right, the draft board's starting to come around our way. Baker goes at 74, a little early. I mean, again, we're still seeing some players coming off the board a little earlier than I normally expect, and that's okay because that's going to be to our benefit. I'm looking for Jaden Reed to come back to us here to be our 4th wide receiver. And that also creates a Baltimore-Green Bay bring back in Week 17 because they play each other in Week 17, and that's exactly what we're going to get. Now, there was some news on Reed that he's a little banged up with an injury, but I anticipate him back for Week 1. And if not, he'll miss very few games, most likely. And he is a wide receiver with a ton of talent. I do typically take Matthew Golden over him, and they do go next to each other in drafts. I do have Golden ranked slightly higher. I flip-flopped them earlier in the season. Part of that because of the groin injury, part of that because Golden looks pretty good, high draft capital, and I like taking shots on rookies. So, because you don't know what their ceiling is yet. And when you're trying to find value, that's usually the best way to do it. All right, it's coming back to us here. Let's see. I have Aaron Jones at the top of my ADP board for my ranks. Kind of sits in pretty well with ADP as well. Get a little bit of value here. He's got an ADP of 83. We're going to get him at 88. So we'll take Aaron Jones here as our 3rd running back. So we now have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones at running back, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed at wide receiver. We have really nice bringbacks set up for week 17. And then we have Zay Flowers paired up with Lamar Jackson for a nice team stack there. So love this start. This is definitely the way you want to build some teams to give yourself a chance to win money and proceed deeper in these tournaments. So hopefully some of these team builds are helping you. I do want to show one thing real quick, and I'll show this later in the stream as well for those who may join later. There are draft strategies that people typically see that are best ways to draft your teams. And I look at facts and data and what's worked over the last couple of years and prioritized what those are. So if you look on the screen real quick, and you can pause, take a screenshot if you need. I'll post it up again later in this draft, but you can see the effectiveness of the different styles of drafting from hero RB or anchor, wide receiver avalanche, or zero RB style, elite quarterback plus their stack, hyper fragile, etc., and on down. And my favorite way to normally do this is a hero RB, throw in a wide receiver avalanche behind that with throwing in an elite quarterback. Trying to put all three of those together into a draft is generally my best way to attack drafts this year. At least that's my strategy. When I compile what's been working, I'm going to try and put 3 things that have worked successfully into every draft. At least that's the Galaxy Brain idea. Don't just go for one strategy. Let's put them all together if we can, or a few that have worked. With that being said, in this draft, we do have somewhat of an anchor in Kyron Williams. It's not a true anchor, but we did get the elite quarterback, and we've tried to avalanche a little bit on wide receiver, but we got more work to do for sure. All right, the board's coming around. We know we need to grab more work on the wide receiver room. Pittman is coming up on the board. He is my highest ranked receiver. And then we have Coleman and Cooper Kupp. All right, Pittman goes. I like what's coming back to me at wide receiver. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually pivot and grab our first tight end here in Mark Andrews as a double stack with Lamar Jackson. That feels like the right decision there. So we don't lose that. And then we'll queue up some options at wide receiver that we're comfortable with. That will be our 5th wide receiver. I could do a mega stack by getting Rashad Bateman, and that may end up being what we have to do just because we have to get a wide receiver here. Otherwise, we're going to start to get shut out. But I don't want to force that. And I do have Shaheed higher. If I didn't get Andrews, then I probably would have prioritized Bateman in this situation. So let's see if we can get Shaheed back to us in this draft. If not, and we don't. So, yeah, both Bateman and Shaheed go before us. So we're going to need to take a little flyer here on Luther Burden. We're reaching just a little bit here, mostly because we need to make sure we don't get shut out at talented wide receivers. You have to start 3 wide receivers in best ball leagues, and 4 if you're using the flex spot as a wide receiver, which many times every week that happens. So if every week you have to start minimum 3, maximum 4, running backs you only have to start 2. You definitely need to have more wide receivers on your team than running backs. Almost always is the right way to draft your teams. So hope that is beneficial for everyone. It would have been nice if any one of those 4 came back behind Andrews. I mean, realistically, we took Andrews, and then we had Kupp, Coleman, Shaheed, and Bateman. And any one of those coming back to us would have been ideal, that over Burden, and it just didn't happen. So that's pretty unfortunate, but it does happen, and we're just going to roll on and pivot and adjust because that's what we're supposed to do. If you know how to manage these drafts, then you won't be afraid when stuff goes wrong. Be a little disappointed, but you won't be. You'll be prepared to pivot and still make an effective team when that happens. So, Trevor Lawrence goes at pick 120. We do have some very unique looking teams that are being built here. That is for sure. Let me try and do something here. If I back this up, let me see what that looks like. I might start doing this. So I zoomed in a little less for you guys so you can see more of the board. And I'm going to do this for the rest of this drafts tonight, unless I get some feedback from you guys saying, hey, listen, I need you to zoom it in. My eyes stink. I can't see what you're doing. Please zoom it in. All right. Draft board is coming back around to us here. We definitely have some options that we can go with. Wide receivers this is really a dead spot for wide receivers. So we're going to have to make some decisions on what we want to do. All right, we're on the board. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab, wait a minute. No, we wanted to try and get Atlanta later. We'll grab Ramondre Stevenson at running back to be our fourth running back here. We're definitely going to stop at 5 running backs when we have the talent that we do at running back. That's for sure. So looking at ADP, we have a couple of options. We're going to Penix goes before Pitts in every draft. Not by a lot. So we need to grab one of these guys as quarterback. So we can either get Jordan Love here or we can get Michael Penix here. And they both will pair up with folks on the board. So we're either paying the Atlanta Rams or the Green Bay Baltimore. And quite honestly, I think I'm going to go ahead and take Penix. I don't have as much as him. I have more Jordan Love here, and I realize that's a little bit of a reach, but I like building out the Penix London combination over the Jordan Love Jaden Reed combination. And there are more Atlanta players to be had if necessary. I just feel like we have more pieces of that game, so I feel like that's the better way to play it here. But I do like Jordan Love. I do think he's going to throw more this year than he did last year. You guys have to remember that he did have a leg injury last year that kind of affected him and his ability to run. So I think he can run more. And I think that's going to allow him to want to throw a little bit more as well. He can extend plays. He's got some legs. I think it'll be a good year for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, as long as they can stay healthy. But I guess the same could be said for everyone. All right. Let's see what's going to come back around to us. I'm pretty sure I thought they had 4 quarterbacks in that one team. I don't know. This draft board is really weird to me. The way some of these teams have been built. They don't make a ton of sense. Doesn't mean they're gonna be bad, not work, but they're definitely giving themselves less of a chance to win with some of the way some of these teams are built. Not pairing up your your quarterbacks with at least one pass catcher on the team. It really just takes the upside of your teams and really slims it down. You can win with these, obviously. It can happen. But if you look back historically at teams that win, it's because they have pass catchers stacked with their quarterbacks. Because if you get to the finals, let's just say with Kyler Murray, and you don't have any of his pass catchers and he goes off, you're going to be going against other teams with Kyler Murray, and they're going to have supporting cast, which means they're going to get a ton of points, and you're going to be out. You're going to be at a huge disadvantage when that happens. So, all right. We're on the board. We have some options here. Definitely focusing on wide receiver is definitely going to be a need for us. And I'm going to go ahead and grab Leggett here. He's kind of the last wide receiver available in this area. I don't have a ton of him. He's been shown up good, looking good in camp. He is a year 2 receiver. I don't prioritize him. I don't have a lot of him because where he goes in drafts, I just have him ranked lower. But we're in a situation where we definitely need to gather more wide receiver help. We're probably going to grab a tight end here and be our second tight end in Hunter Henry. Seems like a good decision here. So now looking at the team so far, we've got a 2-4-6-2 build going. We got Lamar Jackson, Michael Penix at quarterback, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson at running back. Wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Luther Burden, Xavier Leggett at wide receiver, Mark Andrews, and Hunter Henry at tight end. We have got week 17 bringbacks. We have stacks with our quarterbacks. And we've gotten some pretty solid values. Like, for example, Kyron, normally at pick 32, going at pick 40 to us, is a great value early on in drafts. So, like this team. This team's definitely looking pretty solid. We'll just try and finish it out, not screw it up completely, and see what we can do with this team. And as a reminder, if you want to draft live with us, you can get into a draft. I will try and give a countdown so you can load up a draft with me and click at the same time, and so we can hopefully get into a draft together. In the description, I do have the link to Underdog Fantasy where you can create an account for free and then use my promo code PERFECT216, and you can get a 50% deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000. And I highly recommend taking advantage of that before they drop that promo out. Speaking of which, just a quick shout out to Underdog. I'm waiting for my gift to arrive. They said that they're going to send me something. I think it's just a t-shirt, but something for last year. And they'd sent me an email. And I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. Hopefully, whoever's designing whatever they're sending looks good. And I wonder how many. I guess that's one thing I never looked up. How many people actually max draft the Best Ball Mania teams? That would be interesting to know. How many max drafts are there out there? All right, the draft's coming back to us here. Let's click off the board and see what's coming our way. We know we need some more help at wide receiver. One thing that I definitely have some guys down here that I like to prioritize. And I may even get another Baltimore receiver after all, because we need to make sure we maximize this team. So we're going to go ahead and grab, let's see here. I'm going to grab Michael Wilson as our 7th wide receiver. With Michael Wilson, he is the number 2 wide receiver in an offense that should be better than last year. He definitely has gotten some red zone targets, looks solid, still young, hasn't really hit his ceiling yet necessarily. And if that offense gets better, you know he's going to be on the field a lot because he is the clear-cut wide receiver 2 in that offense. And that's definitely an advantage if you can get a wide receiver 2 in round 16, 17, 18, you have a chance at them being effective and get you some points in your league. So definitely recommend taking advantage of that. Right. So normally I would probably grab a tight end here, but I'm going to grab an 8th receiver actually in DeAndre Hopkins and make this a triple stack for Baltimore when we have Zay Flowers, DeAndre Hopkins, and Mark Andrews all stacked up with Lamar Jackson. If this team's winning $2 million for us, it's because Baltimore absolutely goes nuclear, not only for this year, but in the fantasy football playoffs. And we have some key pieces to those teams. And then in week 17, if it goes off and Jaden Reed is playing and he's the best receiver on Green Bay and he puts up 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, while Baltimore puts up 42 points and it's all passing with a little bit of running from Lamar. That's how this team wins $2 million potentially, right? So looks like the kind of team that we can do something with. We will get into another Best Ball Mania draft after this. Just going to recap the team after these last 2 picks, and then we'll roll right into one more Best Ball Mania. We may even get to 2 more tonight. I've got to stay ahead of things. I've only got 40, I think I said 48 more left to do, or left available, but between now and September 4th. But if reality is that Best Ball Mania could close before September 4th. So if it fills, it's done. So I need to make sure that I can get all my teams in before Best Ball Mania fills. And I've got plenty of time to do it. Realistically, I just want to be done by the end of August by drafting 2 to 3 of these every night between now and the regular season. And that should get me there. In addition to other teams that I draft. Right here on Underdog Fantasy. All right, we got a little bit of a run on some tight ends here. We're going to need one more running back here to make this a 5 running back build. And then we'll probably grab a tight end to make it a 3rd tight end. So I think that's the plan, is a running back and a tight end. So if I prioritize those, look at my ranks. Clearly for me, Arroyo is the tight end that I would definitely choose here. He's a rookie, very athletic, definitely has some upside. I feel he's got some potential. He showed flashes in camp as long as he stays healthy. I mean, he's competing with A.J. Barner. And if you know anything about A.J. Barner, he's not exactly the athlete that Arroyo is. And if he was, they wouldn't have traded Noah Fant away if he was that good, and they wouldn't have drafted Arroyo this past year or in this offseason. All right, so now we're down to grabbing just our last running back here. What is the word on Marshawn Lloyd? I don't have a ton of Lloyd, but he kind of makes sense for this team with the bring back. But there's a lot of other guys on here that I'd be fine getting. So let's just take a Lloyd share here. I don't feel like he'll be necessarily what we need for this team to work for the regular season when he's our 5th running back. However, he could be part of a absolutely fantastic Week 17 matchup with Green Bay and Baltimore. So, all right, let's recap this team, and then we'll get into another Best Ball Mania draft. So we went with a 2-5-8-3 build. We got Lamar Jackson, Michael Penix at our quarterback. Running back, we have Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, and Marshawn Lloyd at running back. Wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Luther Burden, Xavier Legette, Michael Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins. Tight end, we have Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry, Elijah Arroyo. We triple stacked Baltimore with Andrews, Hopkins, and Flowers. And then with Atlanta, we do have Drake London stacked up with our man Michael Penix there. We have Green Bay, a couple players, Marshawn Lloyd and Jaden Reed with the bring back for Baltimore. And then Atlanta, we have Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua with the bring back against Atlanta. So love how this team's built. It's definitely built to be a winning Best Ball Mania team from top to bottom. We didn't reach. We got values where we needed to. And nothing too crazy of a start or of a build, but it's built correctly. And this is a solid team if you're looking for an idea of what teams could be successful. So with that being said, let's go ahead and grab another Best Ball Mania draft and keep ripping them tonight. Just want to show you real quick. If you look here, they do all sports on Underdog Fantasy, all kinds of sports, but specifically NFL. You can see different types, different buy-ins that they change throughout the year. Best Ball Mania is one we're doing now, but there are other types of tournaments that are all best ball. You have some large field tournaments. You have these smaller field. There's only 2,160 entrants will be in the big dog, but it's a $500 entry. You have stuff that like this $40 entry, but you can only do 10 entry max. Some smaller ones, $4,800, $10 entry, but you can only do 3 entry max here. Some are slow drafts, some are fast. And then if you're new and you're not sure, like, hey, I don't know if I want to do this thing. I don't want to spend a lot of money. My budget, I got to watch it. No problem. You got drafts like the Puppy, and they're already done one. They had the Puppy 1, the Puppy 2, and now they're in the Puppy 3. And there is $1 million in prizes in the Puppy 3. 100,000 to first, 75,000 to second, 50,000 to third. So there are other leagues out there where you can win some nice money and a lot of prizes to be had for first, second, and even beyond. So again, I highly recommend drafting right here on Underdog Fantasy. It is my favorite way to do it. So with that being said, let's rip another Best Ball Mania draft, folks. All right. If you want to draft with us, we are in here. Best Ball Mania. We have 5 people left to fill this room. And if you do end up getting into our draft, I apologize because I will be winning the $2 million, but I will leave, maybe third place for someone else. 500,000 is plenty of money for someone else to win. It would be awesome if myself or a member of our main event fantasy team. I think I need to start calling it like our locker room or something. Like have a catchy way to say this. But if we got the 101 in this draft, so we know what that means. There's no question on who we're drafting at the 101. It's Jamar Chase. He is my ranked number 1, and he's 1 at ADP. Don't overthink it. When you get 1, you pick Jamar Chase. That's what you should do. Just as a quick reminder, if you wouldn't mind, hit the like button, subscribe. You can get notifications turned on as well if you'd like, and you can be notified when I go live. I will be going live every night between 10 and midnight as best I can, ripping all kinds of teams, especially these Best Ball Manias. We'd love to have you in here talking with us, interacting with us, and just enjoying the world of fantasy football together. And hopefully we all start walking out of here with some extra cash. That would be ideal. All right, we are on the clock. We're going to take Jamar Chase, my man, right here at the 101. Feels good. Gotta love Jamar Chase. So a few more badge drafters in this one with us than we had in the last one. We'll still see if anything crazy happens or anything funny happens in this draft like we had in the last one. Saquon Barkley going at the 1-8 was pretty doesn't happen that often, so that was a little unique. I don't know that the person who drafted at the 1-8 with Saquon really did a nice job of taking advantage of it, but I guess in a way that helps us, right? The more he screws up, I guess that's one less team that we should have to worry about theoretically. All right. So we got Barkley, Bijan, Lamb, Gibbs, Jefferson off the board. Pretty standard start so far. Nothing too fancy. We'll see kind of how the board continues to play out. Neighbors. I feel like more people are jumping on the bandwagon that I've been preaching since the beginning of the year, is that I think Neighbors is a better choice earlier in drafts over Puka. And I've seen Puka sliding. I did see an interview actually today from Devontae Adams where they were asking him about, hey, what's it like being on the Rams? How do you feel working with Puka Nacua? And he was basically saying this dude's super athletic, got a lot of talent, but he's got a lot to learn, and is trying to teach him how to be a more efficient player. And so that tells me that he feels that Puka, A, I guess, hasn't reached the ceiling yet, but B, he might have a lot more to learn than we realize. And that kind of concerns me because his talent profile wasn't as good as others. And he's had a really nice breakout, but it's possible that we see a dip, right? Or a drop off. And y'all know when you look here at my rankings, which I'll pull up again shortly, I definitely have Malik Neighbors ranked above Puka. As we come around the other side, London goes, then Achan, Genty, Taylor. Jonathan Taylor getting pulled on the right side is a little bit of a unicorn because he normally goes in the left side of the board. But if you value him similarly to other players, pull him on the right side of the board. This is a way to kind of build yourself a little bit of a unique team to some extent. McCaffrey pairs up with Henry here. So they're going with a double anchor RB start. All right, let's flip this around to see what's coming up our way. So we've got my ranks to the left, and then ADP is what most people are drafting by. I use my ranks to break tiebreakers when draft boards come around. Chase Brown goes at 21. He continues to rise. I should have got more of him when he was clearly a round 3 pick, and now he's going pretty much regularly in round 2. Y'all know how I feel about Ladd McConkey. He's ranked 27. He won't be a draft pick for us here. I believe he is someone who. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab Josh Jacobs, and then we're gonna grab Trey McBride because that is where my ranks play out, and we don't have any crazy fallers. So, T. Higgins normally ADP at 25 on this platform. I have him ranked at 32 or 32nd player. Part of the reason when you look at the board here real quick with McConkey, he was going on the right side of the board. Now he's going on the left because they signed Keenan Allen. The issue with McConkey, while he is a wide receiver 1, they're on a run-first offense, has a more crowded receiver room. And if you just look at statistics, and he really belongs in the 3rd round, and I'd love to take him here in the early 3rd. I think that's kind of where I will be comfortable grabbing him. If he'd have fell to us at 24, I might have considered him because he doesn't fall that far yet. But I still think he needs to fall into the 3rd round to be at his value. But I think you're drafting him at a ceiling, and that's my issue. With Higgins, he's a wide receiver 2. Obviously, it's a pass-heavy offense, so I think he's a great selection in terms of you're going to get some volume there. But there's all these wide receiver 1s around him that are going to get prioritized on their teams with higher target shares and higher opportunities than Higgins will. So while he can definitely break out like he did at the end of last year, Higgins is not really at the same level as a lot of these other guys are in terms of fantasy value. And people have this whole "what have you done for me lately" mentality instead of looking at facts. And if you look at the data on T. Higgins, and actually I will pull it up and talk about it real quick. So let's look at last year. T. Higgins last year, he had 4 times he was a top 10 wide receiver out of 18 weeks. When you look at his career, so last year he was a wide receiver 17. The year before that, 51, 19, 24, 27. His best finish was last year as a wide receiver 17. So do you really want to be drafting the wide receiver 17 overall and he's a wide receiver too, do you really want to be drafting him as your first or second wide receiver on your team? It just doesn't make sense. I like taking pieces of him, but I'm going to be underweight because I think he's totally overvalued. He belongs in round 4, maybe the end of round 3. That is my opinion. I'm okay if people don't agree with it, but I like to lead with facts and data with my decisions, and it's done well for me so far. And so I'm going to keep riding with it. McMillan, Worthy, Pickens go. So we're kind of through with the, we'll call them the elite tight ends, Bowers, McBride, and Kittle. I did take McBride. So when we get an elite tight end on your team in these best ball tournaments, you really need to stop at 2 tight ends because you're counting on him because you drafted him so high to be a more every week performer. So he's someone who you now need to go ahead and say, hey, I need to put some of that stock into other positions. Now, if it comes back to us, we're going to do the double pairing of Hurts and Smith. All right, and Hurts goes, so that won't happen. So let me back up here. We're going to go ahead and, so by ADP and my ranks, DK Metcalf is the first pick off the board here for sure. And then the difference here is they have Kenneth Walker and Cortland Sutton higher, but I think Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers have higher upside. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Devonta Smith because he's at the top of my rankings. I love a guy who has basically been the best college football wide receiver in history. You know, he's that kind of a guy on a great offense who did great last year, and they barely threw. And they're going to throw more this year. I'm putting money on it. And so I want to have pieces of him. I do feel a little bit bad because I bet you KPA Ben probably when he picks Hurts here, he really is hoping that Smith comes back around and he can pair him up. So I'm sure he's a little bit disappointed there. So when we start the way we do have some already built in week 17 correlation. And so when I talk about week 17, I'm talking about those fantasy football finals play out in week 17 of the regular season. So if you want high upside, you want that game to go off, you want to have players from that game. So if you quick screenshot, you can take a look here. You'll see that if you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they play in week 17, scroll over to the right, Arizona Cardinals. So when we know that they play each other and both of those teams are pretty high scoring teams, if that's the highest scoring game in week 17 and we get to the finals, we have Jamar Chase, Trey McBride. Theoretically, they both could go off and we could be winning a lot of money if that game goes nuclear. So that's how we try and give ourselves that upside when we're trying to win $2 million here. You have to remember that we're trying to beat 672,000 other teams. And the best way to do that is you got to take risks. And that means you got to correlate your quarterbacks with some pass catchers on the same team. You want to shoot for week 17 upside. Just give yourself more ways to win and be unique than the other teams that are going to be there. And if you think I'm just saying this because, you don't believe me, you don't think it's based in fact, I can assure you that it is. Previous winners have shown that. And actually, I will even direct you to an article that I've talked about before on my streams. It's not even done by me, but if you search it up, you can even Google it. And it's an article by the Fantasy Life guys. And it says week 17 is all that matters. So look that up. I encourage you, and they will teach you all about week 17 and why that. And it's not literally all that matters, but that's just the name of the video. All right. Draft board's coming around. So ideally here, we're going to get Joe Burrow to fall to us at 72 to pair up with Jamar Chase and keep our Week 17 going. Nope. This guy was so mad at me for taking Devonta Smith. He said, you know what? He did it out of spite. I'm telling you, he did it out of spite. We're going to go ahead and grab Jordan Addison here, 4th wide receiver. And then we're going to grab Sam Laporta. He's my next ranked guy here, and we'll be done at tight end when we go Sam Laporta. So what he did here, KPA Ben, he's mad because I took Smith, so he decided to go back-to-back quarterbacks here. Now, technically, he did pair Burrow with Higgins, so it's not completely foolish. However, it's not ideal to go 2 elite quarterbacks on a team. And technically, Burrow falls in that elite category because you're putting so much stock. You can only start one quarterback every week. And so he's giving up, draft position, so to speak, in players that are going to be higher valued than what he would have later. Would he rather have on his team, I guess he couldn't have, Rome or Addison or Laporta, on his team, or does he need a second quarterback? It's just not ideal, especially when you take an elite quarterback. If you don't have an elite quarterback, then you want 2 or 3 because you're going to have to share the love because you're going to be mixing up who's going to have the better weeks to get you through into the playoffs. All right, Hawkinson goes. And so for us, because we did miss the elite quarterback range, which I'm okay with, it happens plenty of times. And once we do that, we really will let quarterbacks fall to us, and we may even end up with 3 of them. We know we only need 2 tight ends, so that allows us to do other things at other positions. The right side of the board really loves the running backs, I guess. I mean, they're flooding themselves at running backs. I'm just going to share. Let's see what he does here. But, I mean, he's really kind of made a mistake, this guy. And I'll explain that in just a second. Yeah, he needed to get a wide receiver. So he's only got 3 wide receivers so far, and he's got 4 running backs. He did pair up Daniels with Steve Debo, which is good. But he's going to be really digging out a wide receiver. You have to start 3 wide receivers every week, 4 if you use it for a flex. The most running backs he can use in a given week is 3 because you have to start 2. You could use the flex as a running back. So it really makes it hard when you now have to rely on Josh Downs as a every week wide receiver, potentially when you're drafting this play. I think he's going to struggle here because he grabbed too many running backs in a row. Because he did this, the only way to do this draft properly now is for him to just stop at 4 running backs if he's going to make this team work. All right, so the draft board's coming around. Let's see what's going to be available to us. So I have Kyler Murray ranked at the top of ADP of my ranks, and he's pretty close here. We could pair him up with Trey McBride and continue to play the Arizona-Cincinnati game. All right, so we are going to do that. We're going to let Kyler Murray be our first quarterback, pair him up with Trey McBride, and then we don't need a tight end. We don't need another quarterback here at this range. But we could definitely keep the wide receivers going. And I think that's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to grab Shaheed. I was debating between the 2. I like Brandon Ayuk over Shaheed in a vacuum, meaning to say if I can get him to be my wide receiver 6 or 5 like I am here, I kind of like him. But when we have Jordan Addison, who's going to miss 3 games, first 3 games of the season, I don't want to add Ayuk to that team because it's possible he misses a little bit of time, and then we're kind of putting ourselves in a little bit too much of a hole. So that's why I chose Shaheed over him. So our team starts out Kyler Murray stacked with Trey McBride. We do have Josh Jacobs as a running back. We have Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Rashid Shaheed at wide receiver. And then, like I said, McBride and now Sam Laporta at tight end. So really love this team. So far, I like this team better than the last one we just drafted. I think this one's even better. If you're just joining and you're not sure what I'm doing and you're going, yeah, I know it's fantasy football, but what is this? We're doing best ball drafts. So best ball drafts means you can draft hundreds of teams. I've drafted over 500 already this year. We'll be at over 700 teams by the time we get to the league start because you don't have any trades, no waiver wires when you draft. Your best players will play automatically for you based on the points that they accrue. And there are some major money to be won in these tournaments. So if you love drafting fantasy football teams, this is my favorite place to do it. And it's Underdog Fantasy. I have a link in the description, and you can use my promo code PERFECT216. If it's your first time when you sign up, you can get a 50% deposit bonus using my code up to $1,000. And you can come and draft live with us and rip some teams. And I was talking to somebody about this. It almost feels like, there's people that play the lottery. The chance of you winning the lottery is pretty slim, to say the least. You still don't have a lot of chances to win $2 million here, theoretically, but it's a whole lot more likely here to become a millionaire than it is doing that. And we can have a whole lot of fun while we're doing it. So I highly recommend it. And I would love for you guys to come draft with me. If you like being on the stream and you want to draft with us, you want to ask some questions, I'm happy to answer any redraft, dynasty, best ball, any kind of questions you have, pop them in the chat, throw a comment out there, and happy to talk through that with you. All right, draft board's coming around. We're feeling really good, and it's the right time for us to grab some running backs, and we've got some beautiful options falling to us here. I have ETN as my highest ranked running back here. I do get a lot of him. Dobbins goes. Okay, so we're going to get ETN and Zach Charbonnet here back to back. Feels like a really good place to grab some running backs. So now our running back room looks like Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, Zach Charbonnet. Josh Jacobs definitely going to be more of a bell cow style. Will catch passes, but he's definitely a high volume guy. Etienne could be a pass catching back, could have some juice. We know Trevor Lawrence and him were teammates in college. He's right now splitting reps with the first team with Tank Bigsby. So I don't think he'll be a bell cow by any means. And then Charbonnet, I love Charbonnet. I get him every year, and he always wins me money because Kenneth Walker can't stay healthy. And Charbonnet has definitely been a goal line back, and he's put up some really usable weeks every year. So really, really like how this team has started out. If you don't know what best ball is and you're not sure if you can draft on Underdog, here's just a quick peek at the draft availability map. If you live in any of these states with the yellow, you are eligible to draft on Underdog as long as you meet the age requirements. So hopefully you guys live in these states so you can enjoy that yourself. And I don't know about you, and I do these streams because I enjoy it, and I'm hopefully able to help somebody. And we just kind of grow fantasy football. We grow sports betting. We grow just in general, and even an Underdog as it is. I'm going to draft these teams whether I'm doing it live and streaming it and creating content or not. So I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. And if I can help someone along the way, it seems to make a lot of sense to do it. Other people have helped me when I started out, and so if I can give back to fantasy football community, then hey, I feel like I'm doing my part, right? All right. So how do we finish off this team? That is the question. And I will get into another draft after this. So we will do a third one tonight. I would appreciate if y'all would hit the like button and support the channel because it definitely goes a long way. All right. What do we have coming around to us? Pittsburgh, Seattle, Jacksonville. We could do some things here. All right. So I think we're going to have to take Trevor Lawrence here. No, I'm not. I lied. I don't want to have another week 8 bye when I do this. I'm going to take Cedric Tillman as our wide receiver 6. I'll explain that one in a second. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and grab. No, you know what? I'm going to build it out. I'm going to make it a 3 quarterback build. I'm going to do it. So the reason I take Lawrence here, even though he's another bye week 8, is I'm now going to plan to have a 3 quarterback build. But his ADP, the value I'm getting here, he normally goes at 129. I'm getting him at 145. He does somewhat pair up with ETN. You can pair a running back who's a pass catcher with your quarterback and still get value. And there are other Jacksonville players we can add in here to make it a stack with Trevor Lawrence and do it what's called a back stack. With Tillman, he is going to be the number 2 on the Cleveland Browns. They're going to have to throw because they're going to play from behind. Tillman showed flashes last year. He has not played a full season yet. He's a 6'3", big-bodied receiver, and he definitely looks like he has some fire and some juice. When you're getting running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, people in these later rounds, you want guys that are going to be on the field or on great offenses with high upside for touchdown options, because most likely Tillman's not going to play every week. I'm going to get wide receiver points from other players on my team, but I at least give myself a chance when I take someone like Tillman. Just for comparison purposes, let's look at Kyle Williams. He's a rookie. I like rookies, but Kyle Williams may not even be the wide receiver 4 on his team. So he may not see the field as much. So the chances of him being helpful to my team are a lot less likely than Tillman. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So it does matter to some extent, at least in my opinion, where they're at on the depth chart. And if they're younger players that haven't reached their ceiling yet, we don't know what it is. I like taking them. If you'll remember 2 years ago, Puka Nacua was being undrafted, or he was in round 18. But I was drafting him, and he helped me win some money because he was the wide receiver 2 on his team that throws a lot on the Rams. And everyone was like, I don't know, who's this Puka guy? Okay, well, if he's going to get on the field, he's got a chance to perform well. So you should take advantage of that. All right. Draft board is coming around. We need to think a little bit ahead. So we could do... So when we get later in drafts, so one thing I'll point out too is that you really don't want to reach on ADP when you're earlier in drafts. You want to take advantage of the ADP as much best you can. So don't reach on players. But the later drafts get, the more you can reach because the variety changes. You know, they're not as secure in their ADP, if that makes sense. You know, Nick Chubb can go in round 15, 14, 16, 18, not drafted. I mean, that's kind of the value. But in every draft, you're going to see, you know, Jamar Chase. He's either the 101 or the 102. So, like, if you don't like Jamar Chase, but he falls to you at the 105, it's only 3 picks past ADP, but you're going to take him because no one else is getting him at the 105. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys understand why I say that. We're going to take Nick Chubb here as our 4th running back for sure. And then I've got time on him, so I'm actually going to do Diami Brown first. I have Michael Wilson rated better than Diami Brown. But we get Brown to stack up with Trevor Lawrence as a back stack. And Michael Wilson actually is going a little less or a little lower in ADP than he is. So I feel like I have a good chance to get him coming back around to me. So you're kind of playing that game as well. And then I am going to queue up Aaron Rodgers here because I can pair him up with DK Metcalf, and he could be my third quarterback. So when these guys are on bye week 8, I know at least I have Aaron Rodgers playing on the team. So we've got 3 more picks to make. And if I look at the team, we're definitely going to get that quarterback. We're staying with 2 tight ends because we have some premium tight ends. We have an elite one with Trey McBride. We will. All right, Aaron Rodgers goes, so that ruins that plan. I'm going to have to pivot and find something that works. The question is, do we believe Tyler Shuck will actually be the starter, or is it going to be Spencer Rattler? I'm going to say that Tyler Shuck is going to be the starter. That's kind of where I'm going to be at. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to grab 1 wide receiver, 1 quarterback, and a running back here to finish off this team. And it'll end up being a 3-5-8-2 build. Shuck will be last because no one drafts him. Unless you really need one like we do to make a quarterback work. And then once we make these final picks, we'll queue up another one, and we'll get into another Best Ball Mania draft, and we'll keep ripping teams and try to win us $2 million because that's what we're shooting for here. That is first place in Best Ball Mania. I'd be happy with third place, which is $500,000. You know, beggars can't be choosers, but we're going to shoot for the ceiling here. Okay, Wilson goes. That really stinks. A couple of picks have kind of stolen some thunder here. All right, so we're going to pivot. I'm going to take Keaton Mitchell. And then from the wide receiver standpoint, I don't think I have anybody else that's going to correlate the way I want. So we'll just take Tyler Shuck now, make sure we don't lose that. And then let's kind of plan out our last wide receiver. You know, we can see if there's any Arizona left that's worth taking a shot at. I don't believe so. I mean, we could throw a Greg Dortch or Zay Jones bullet out there for fun. That would be rare. These guys aren't getting drafted, so if they do hit, then you are very unique in that way. So it's not a terrible idea to do stuff like that. And then the Jaguars, we've got Parker Washington. If we wanted to go that route, he'd be a wide receiver 4. I really don't like targeting wide receiver 4s in offenses. And it'd be different if this was like Kansas City Chiefs or somebody who we expect to, you know, even Cincinnati, who's going to be a high pass game, you know, team. It does say Jones is listed among the first team offense on the unofficial depth chart. So depth chart wise, Jones and Dortch are kind of there. I guess I think I've got a team where I did take Dortch just for fun. So I think we'll take Zay Jones and he'll be our double stack with Kyler Murray. And that seems like a fun way to play it, taking some chances on guys. And then we'll recap the team and we'll roll into our next one. And while we're doing that, let me just take a quick peek here at Jacksonville. So as a reminder, we're looking at some of those playoff weeks, 15, 16, 17 are those weeks. The Jaguars, you can see, play the Indianapolis Colts in week 17. So we don't have any bring back because we don't have any Indianapolis Colts on our team. So there's no week 17 bring back with them, and that's okay. You don't need that. It just kind of helps give you a higher ceiling when you're looking at your drafts. All right, so we'll take Zay Jones. We'll be done. So to recap the team, before we roll into the next one, we have Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Shuck at quarterback, running back Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, Zach Charbonnet, Nick Chubb, Keaton Mitchell. Wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Tillman, Diami Brown, Zay Jones. Tight end, we have Trey McBride, Sam Laporta. I love our tight end room. Love our quarterback room. Worked out pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the running back room. I think if I look back at this team, really quickly, if we just kind of glance at some things that I wish would have done a little bit differently in a perfect world, is that I wish we would have ended up with Aaron Rodgers instead of Tyler Shuck. I think that would have been more of an ideal piece there. And then we did get sniped up here. We could have got Joe Burrow instead of Murray, and that would have been interesting. I mean, it doesn't really matter because I actually think Murray is a great option. He's going to use some legs and rushing ability helps. So I think you could have went either way. So, all right. Let's jump into one more. If you're in here and you want to jump into a best ball mania draft with me, well, I have 47 more of these that I can do out of the 150 that I started with. So I'll give you a quick countdown. You can click at the same time and try and load in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to enter. And there are 3 more spots in this draft. So if you're drafting with us, let me know in the comments if you got into this draft with us once it loads. Two more spots left. And then as a reminder, one more time, I'm going to keep doing that because it's kind of what we do. I guess as a content creator, just throw a like out there if you would, please. It would be greatly appreciated. It helps kind of progress building this channel up with the support that you give, and gives me motivation to continue to adjust and build out this content. All right. So we get the 111. Love being on the right side of boards. The reason why I like the right side of drafts, of the draft boards, is I value what comes around in the second round. Some of these picks that are in the second round, in the beginning of the second round, really, you could make that argument that they are round 1 picks. When you go to the left side of the board, I don't know that you can make that same argument in round 2. So I think the upside potential of having 2 first-round pick type players on your team is kind of an advantage to have on the right side of the board. I think the last year's winner of Best Ball Mania was at pick either 9 or 10. And majority of the time in the last 6 years, I believe the right side of the board, or mid to right, has produced the most winners. That doesn't mean that you have to be on the right side of the board to win. It's just how it's played out. Jamar Chase goes, followed by Justin Jefferson. A lot of badge drafters in this one. Nudie Bar has been in drafts with us multiple times. Maybe he's in our room with us. And if you are, you might be sniping me, my friend, because we're right next to each other. Feel like you might be following me along, and I'm all about it. be part of the main event crew, and subscribe to our channel. Neighbors goes at 1-8. Fairly standard draft so far. Puka goes at 10. Fantastic. Didn't want him anyway. I'm going to go ahead and grab Devon Achane here because I think he is the better player in my ranks. We'll see what Nudie Bar does. Many people like to go just the top of ADP, and that is perfectly fine too. All right. So I did an Ashton Genty Achane team earlier, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go Achane and Drake London here, actually. He's my top-ranked wide receiver. I want to get more Drake London. I'm a little light on him from an exposure standpoint, so feels good to grab a piece of him here. So we'll do a Achane London start. We're going to play this one out. And so what makes this a little bit unique is that both London and Achane typically go in round 2. So by getting them both on the same team here at pick 11, it's a little bit unique because people are only getting one or the other, not both. So I'm forcing a unique build, and I'm treating Achane as as maybe a league-winning running back and an anchor. And then we have London coming behind, right? So, and London going here is not abnormal, but putting them together makes it a unique pairing. And creating uniqueness in a tournament of 672,000 people without sacrificing ADP or much ADP is definitely to your advantage. You know, what's interesting is if you look at the number 1 slot, they went Jamar Chase, Josh Jacobs, Trey McBride, which is exactly what we started with in the last draft. So it'll be interesting to see how their team plays out compared to ours. T. Higgins goes. So this is the second draft in a row. T. Higgins has gone in the 3rd round, and it's getting better because he definitely is a 3rd round or 4th round pick, in my opinion, as I shared earlier, because data and stats don't lie. And I could be wrong, but if I'm going to be wrong, I'd rather do it. I'd rather be wrong because a fluke thing happens rather than trying to go against the data, because then I'm just asking to light $25 on fire and say, hey, thanks for coming. And that is not on my to-do list. All right. The board is coming back around. Let's see what falls our way. Kyron Williams goes at 33. Love it if Devontae Adams were to make it back to us. He does not. All right. So we're going to go ahead and actually do I'm going to reach a little bit and take Jalen Hurts here at 35. And I'm going to continue to build out kind of a unique team. I'm going against my better wishes or better thoughts, and I'm forcing some uniqueness on the right side of the board. Doing what I'm doing is not recommended. I just want to point that out. But it's kind of fun to try it, right? And when you draft as many teams as I've drafted, there will be almost no teams that have this 4-player start, because Achane and London both go in round 2 normally. And then Hurts and Smith normally go on the middle to the left side of the board. So I'm kind of sacrificing a little bit of ADP here, but we'll see if I can make it work. It'll be fun while we do it. Do. Our team next to us, if they were in our room and they're paying attention, they just went wide receiver Avalanche. St. Brown, Thomas, Evans, and McLaurin. He pulled Evans pretty early, too. Evans went a little bit earlier than normal. The drafts tonight and really all day today have been a little bit weird in how things have fallen, which is a good sign. Maybe we're getting a bunch of drunk drafters, right? I guess that's a thing. Never heard of a DD before, but outside of that, what it normally means. But maybe DD has a new meaning, drunk drafters. So he ended up with Sutton, where I definitely didn't take Sutton there. And then Kenneth Walker. So that's where we started to differentiate because I had DK Metcalf on my team. And he went Sutton. So just a different way to play it. All right, 6 picks away. Still have DK Metcalf on the board. Just trying to see which way we want to go here. I definitely want at least one wide receiver. All right, so pretty much everybody I was pulling up on my things is gone. So I'm definitely going to take Rome here at wide receiver. And I think we're going to go ahead and queue up either Chris Olave or Sticky Ricky. Because we don't want to fall too far behind on wide receiver, and we're really not in a bad spot at all. All right. Nudie Bar is very confusing, but I'm going to go ahead and take Chris Olave as our wide receiver 4. So we've started out Jalen Hurts, Devon Achane, Drake London, Devonta Smith, Rome Odunze, and Chris Olave. So a pretty unique team to be building on the right side of the board. I like some uniqueness. Kind of gets me excited. I don't love this team. Don't love the way it's fell. I would have been happier if, Metcalf, Ridley, Hunter, one of these guys fell to us before Rome, and Rome be the next pick. But you just got to play it as it comes at you, my friends. I definitely feel like I'm getting some more exposure on some players that I didn't have as much of, in like Achane, who I want more of, and London. So that makes me feel good about this team. And I'm going to continue to look at my rankings. So this is the first time I've actually uploaded my rankings for everyone to see and put it onto Underdog. I know someone was asking me if I would be willing to sell them my rankings, and I do not have that available at the moment, but y'all are welcome to see what I have here for this year. And then next year, as we continue to build things out, we will build out things where you guys can download my rankings. Maybe we'll win $2 million, and we'll keep this train of profitable best ball drafting going and making some good money. And if we do that, this channel should grow even quicker. You guys will be along for the ride, and we'll be building it together. All right, we're into round 7 now. Sam Laporta off the board. We have started, so I talked about my favorite ways to build a team. We have started exactly that. We have an anchor running back, we have a little bit of a wide receiver avalanche, and we have an elite quarterback. The build on this is exactly how I like to build my teams when it works out that way. So at least build-wise, this is what I want to do. All right, let's move this over. All right. I'm on the board here shortly. And Higgins goes. Interesting. I'm going to go ahead, I guess, and I'm going to fall back into Aaron Jones here as my second running back on this team. Reed goes immediately after, as if this guy was salivating on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab Brian Robinson Jr. As my third running back. So Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Devon Achane, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson Jr. at running back, wide receiver Drake London, Devonta Smith, Roma Dunze, Chris Olave. I feel like we've gotten a little bit sniped on some of this, but we're going to make this team work. We're going to make it where it's an efficient team, and it's going to be something that we are, I don't know about proud of, but we're going to feel like we've got a chance. And as my friends say in poker, all I need is a chip and a chair, brother. A chip and a chair. It's more than we can say for some, because some people look like they want to light $25 on fire when they draft teams because they draft them ways that don't make any sense. I will say, as I'm just kind of scanning over the board, I don't see anybody who's just blatantly throwing away their money. Most of these teams actually are drafting pretty intelligently, if I'm being honest. So this is a pretty clean draft room. And that has not been the case most of tonight, at least not for me. Fantasy Dog working in here. He said, I got you drafting different. I like it. Thank you, sir. Hey, man. Happy to help. Happy to be here. Glad to have you here. We are in stream number 3, or I should say draft number 3 of the night. And so we've been grinding away, trying to knock out more of these best ball drafts. I think I've got 46 more I can do after this, and just trying to do a couple every night to make sure I stay ahead of pace. But I have been drafting some puppies earlier, so. All right, let's see what this crazy unique team I'm building can turn out to be, if we can make it into something. We are running into a little bit of a wide receiver problem, and we're going to have to deal with it. We're having a bit of a depth issue. All right. So we're going to take Bateman here a little earlier than I like, because I can't fall too behind wide receiver. And then I'm just going to grab my next quarterback and last quarterback and grab Caleb Williams here. When you have Jalen Hurts and Caleb Williams, you do not need a third quarterback. We pair him up with Rome, and we'll just sit tight with our 2-3-5 build so far. Kind of a weird draft board for me. Not the norm at all. It's all good, BBM. Yeah, Best Ball Mania. I've done 3 Best Ball Manias tonight, and probably we'll focus on that. I do want to get into a couple of, like, when we get later in August, when some of those other rooms are still open, $500 draft, the $250 drafts, those single entries and stuff, I'll probably grab a couple of those at the very last minute, just so I make sure I don't screw up. I don't want to get into it and, preseason week 3 or 4 has happened and I've already drafted these teams and, somebody, Justin Jefferson goes down and rips his Achilles and I drafted him in a $500 draft, right? So I always save those to the very end and throw those in at the last minute. All right. Just to quickly double check our week 17 matchups, we do see that for Chicago, they play San Francisco in week 17. So that's good to know. So as we build out a Chicago stack that we've started, be nice if we had a San Francisco 49er or two for that correlation. And then we know we have Philadelphia Eagles. And when Philly, they actually played the Buffalo Bills in week 17. So we'll see if we can grab a couple of those players to correlate for the week 17, but we won't force it because that's not what we do here. We let the draft come to us and we make it work for us. All right. Speaking of letting the draft board work for us, let's see what's going to come around our way. We've got Goddard here. I kind of was eyeing up Ray Davis, but he's gone. But Goddard would make sense here to double stack with Jalen Hurts as our first tight end. And then we might have to pivot a little bit here. I like Trey Benson. But we're kind of in a position where, so we'll grab Goddard for sure and make him our first tight end. We'll double stack him with Jalen Hurts. So that feels really good. But I said this earlier, the way we drafted this one, I feel like we're a little bit behind at wide receiver in terms of overall talent. So we're going to need to make sure we take enough of them to make this team work. And so I think I'm going to just go ahead and grab Hollywood Brown here. And who knows, maybe with what's going on with Rashee Rice, if he's going to be suspended 6 games theoretically and spend some jail time, maybe he becomes the wide receiver 1 in a powerful Chiefs offense if he can stay healthy. And if we get him in round 12 at a big discount, then on a team like this where we're needing a little bit of wide receiver help to make this team stay strong, maybe that's what this team needs to win $2 million, right? So looking on the bright side and trying to make it work for us, not against us. But one thing that I do like about this team, and I've talked about it earlier, I'm going to put it on the screen again for everyone to kind of take a quick peek at, which is, I talked about this in one of my strategy videos. You can see, the effectiveness of best ball draft strategies over the course of the last 2 years. You can see which ones have been more effective and which ones have been less effective. And everyone's got an opinion. That's kind of how life works. But this is based on what's actually outperformed. And you can see Hero RB being, elite both years. Elite quarterback being elite both years. And then you can see there's been a little bit of shift in some of the different, supporting ones. But we've basically done a Hero RB build here with an elite quarterback and a wide receiver avalanche on top of that. So we're kind of putting 3 strategies a little bit into one when we draft the team the way we've been drafting this one. All right. Draft board is coming around to us. Let's see what is showing up here. Now, when we get later in drafts, I really focus more on my ranks than the ADP. And this is the first time that I've put my ranks in here for people to see. So happy to display them out here. And you can kind of see as we've been going through the drafts how I have some players very different than the ADP is. We're going to go ahead and get, I'm going to grab Demario Douglas here. I don't have a ton of him, but he is my top ranked player at the moment. And then I'm going to shoot for Tyler Algier here to come back to me. I wanted Algier first, but Nudie Bear here already has 5 running backs, and it's more likely that he's going to take a wide receiver than a running back with one of his 2 picks. So I felt good about the idea of Algier coming back around, and he goes back-to-back quarterbacks with Ward and Young. I got to look at this guy. He may not be mentally stable. All right, so we'll take Algier here as our 4th running back. Let's see what he did. So he's got Joe Burrow, Cam Ward, and Bryce Young. He has stacked none of them. I really don't know what my man is doing. Yeah, I'm highly concerned about his ability to stack. Now, maybe he's going to get a whole bunch of back stack somehow, but see, this is an example of you really have lowered your chances of winning greatly because you didn't stack your quarterbacks. And so, my man, you know what? Thank you. I'll just say thank you. Because it means you may be one less team that I have to worry about out of 672,000 teams based on the way you drafted. I think you just need to, somebody needs to send you a link to our stream. You need to join and subscribe and be a part of the main event movement. And let's clean that draft board up just a little bit for you, my man. That's what I'm thinking. Tomorrow's Monday, and I'm not looking forward to getting back to work. My parents were in town the last 4 days or so from Ohio, and it was great spending time with them. It's always fantastic. Took them to the airport late this afternoon to drop them back off so they could head back home, and I am definitely not ready to get back to work on Monday. I could use another day or two off to decompress, but business doesn't stop. My team needs me. Got to get back to work. Lots to do. But as is life. All right. So we're at a 2-4-7-1 build at the moment. We need to make something happen here. So definitely think that we need to grab at least one tight end here. I definitely think there's a drop off on the tight ends coming up. So I may even just go back to back with tight end if I'm being honest. And I'm going to go for some tight ends that I like. And I know I need 3. So I want to give myself some upside shots at tight end. So I know Chig won't come back because he's got Cam Ward. So I'm going to take him here, and I like Chig a lot. So I'll take him now because I think he would have went right here to Nudie Bear or Nudie Bar. Come on, my man. You can do it. Takes Jonnu Smith. Makes no sense. Continues with your strategy of making no sense. I like it. We'll go ahead and take K. Dotton, and we'll be done with tight ends. So Dallas Goedert, Chig, and K. Dotton as our tight ends. Definitely that group has a chance for every week for somebody to fall into the end zone and score some points. So that feels kind of good. So we're at a 2-4-7-3 build at the moment. We have 2 more picks that are going to come up. We're done at quarterback. We're going to grab 1 more running back and stop at 5. And then 1 more wide receiver to be 8. So we'll have a 2-5-8-3 build when this is all said and done. So let's do this. Let's go to my ranks and let's pull up some wide receivers and running backs and see how this shakes out. Definitely some options here. Haven't taken Kareem Hunt in a while, and I'm kind of over on him, but I haven't taken him a ton. Fancy Dog says, went well, good. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it very much. Was very happy. You know, they don't come in town very often. My dad actually in 6 months is going to turn 80. So you don't know how much time you get left with people, so you want to take advantage of it while you can, right? I hope that I'm in as good a shape as he is when I get to 80. That's all I got to say. Shout out to my dad. I mean, life's tough now, and I'm nowhere near 80, but I think I'm going to throw in a sprinkle in an Elijah Moore here. Just gives you the Buffalo Philly bring back. It's a weird way to do it, but I don't have a lot of Elijah Moore on a team like this. It's already been a whole lot of weird. I'm just going to throw him in there. Might be a complete zero. I don't know, but we're going to have fun doing it. Fantasy Dog says, today I drafted quarterback Daniels, Prescott, Goff, wide receiver CD, McLaurin, Williams, tight end Laporta, running back Eckler, Blue, Monty. I like it. You know, you've got stacks. You've got a double with Laporta and Williams, right? With Goff, you've got Prescott with CD and Daniels, elite quarterback with McLaurin. It's nice. And actually, Daniels, you got Eckler there too. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. All right, we're on the board. We're going to grab Kareem Hunt as our last running back. And then Elijah Moore will be our last wide receiver. And we'll be done. Let's recap the team. We have a 2-5-8-3 build. We have Jalen Hurts and Caleb Williams at quarterback. Running back, Devon Achane, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson Jr., Tyler Algier, and Kareem Hunt. Wide receiver, Drake London, Devonta Smith, Rome Odunze, Chris Olave, Rashad Bateman, Hollywood Brown, Demario Douglas, Elijah Moore. Tight end, Dallas Goedert, Chig, and Cade Otton. I think I feel really good at how this team came about with its uniqueness. Don't love my wide receiver room. I feel like I'm pretty weak there, if I'm being honest. I think I fell and had some bad drafts that came there. But you never know. You know, crazier things have happened. People have won with some crazy stuff, and this still has a shot because we do have enough correlation to make it work. So not terrible. All right, so with that being said, I think that means that we have 47 more of these that I can do, I think. Nope, 46 because the other one hasn't closed yet. So I'm going to have 46 more Best Ball Manias that I can do this year. So I want to make the most of them. I've redid my rankings today. And so they have been updated, and I've been using them today to draft these teams. And I felt really good about how we drafted the teams that we drafted. And so I definitely feel like, especially the first team we drafted, that one was really, really nice. That definitely felt like a $2 million team there for sure. That's definitely my favorite team of the night. So, but it feels good. We're going to keep drafting more and more. Hopefully you guys will be here. I should be on tomorrow, and we'll keep ripping drafts, and hopefully everybody has a fantastic Monday, and we start the week out good with some positivity, and let's bring some good news into the world, shall we? So see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks again, Fancy Dog. Have a good evening, and see y'all tomorrow.